Imagine spending $70 million just to survive the first round of a primary, only to realize the real battle hasn't even started. Down in the Lone Star State, a political earthquake is ripping through the Republican establishment. Surprised? For months, the GOP's upper echelon in the Senate desperately pressured President Trump to throw his political weight behind embattled Texas Senator John Cornyn. The goal was simple: crush hardline Attorney General Ken Paxton, dodge a financially crippling May runoff, and secure the seat against a rising Democratic challenger. But in a staggering display of political judo, Donald Trump has completely flipped the script. Chuckles. The man who was supposed to be squeezed is now the one applying the chokehold. Just days ago, Trump was supposedly inches away from granting Cornyn his golden endorsement. But then, Ken Paxton executed a masterstroke of political extortion. He publicly offered to drop out of the race on one massive, earth-shattering condition. He demanded that Senate Republicans completely obliterate the filibuster to ram through Trump's ultimate legislative crown jewel, a sweeping, uncompromising voter ID mandate. Suddenly, a localized Texas brawl has mutated into a nationwide constitutional showdown. Trump seized the opportunity, weaponizing his coveted endorsement to hold the entire Senate hostage. Now, establishment titans are publicly bending the knee, reversing decades of deeply held legislative principles just to survive the MAGA gauntlet. We are watching the complete real-time subjugation of the Senate GOP. Before we break down the secret text messages, the absolute meltdown from the MAGA base, and why this Texas showdown could rewrite the rules of the United States Senate forever, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and tell me in the comments who is really running the Republican Party right now. Let's dive into the ultimate power play. Based on incredibly sharp reporting from Shane Goldmacher, the sheer political physics of this Texas Senate race have completely inverted. Let's look at the battlefield. National Republicans have been sweating bullets over Ken Paxton. The man is buried in scandal, having barely survived an impeachment trial while facing a highly public, biblically grounded divorce. The fear in Washington was palpable. Nominating Paxton could put a guaranteed red seat into play, jeopardizing the entire Senate majority. To stop him, the establishment launched an unprecedented $70 million financial rescue mission to drag John Cornyn over the finish line. Yet, despite the massive war chest, Cornyn only narrowly edged ahead in the first primary round, forcing an ugly, protracted runoff this May. Adding fuel to the fire, the Democrats nominated James Talarico, a slick state legislator aggressively courting the independent vote. The GOP needed unity, and they needed it yesterday. It appeared the commander-in-chief agreed. Last Wednesday, Trump took to social media, declaring the primary had to end for the good of the nation. Major outlets, led by The Atlantic, immediately signaled that a Cornyn endorsement was imminent. Insiders confirmed Trump's team had already drafted the official endorsement language. But Trump hit the brakes, sparking an absolute lobbying frenzy. Senate leadership flooded Trump's phone lines, practically begging him to formally back Cornyn and end the bloodbath. Paxton's camp matched the intensity, pushing every ally they had to reach the Oval Office. When whispers of the impending Cornyn endorsement leaked, the MAGA ecosystem went thermonuclear. Headlines from Breitbart and the National Pulse relentlessly attacked the six-term senator, branding him a backstabber who sided with Jack Smith and Joe Biden over the America First agenda. Steve Bannon took to his War Room broadcast, dismissing Cornyn as reptilian for his shifting loyalties. Bannon contrasted that with Paxton's flawless MAGA resume, fighting in the trenches during the 2020 election disputes and standing by Trump's side during his 2024 federal trial. Bannon's verdict was brutal. The base loathes Cornyn so much that he is actually the ultimate electoral liability. The Democrats sensed blood in the water. They began leaking internal polling, showing Talarico running neck and neck with both Republicans. More importantly, these surveys were seemingly engineered to grab Trump's attention, suggesting that even his golden endorsement wouldn't be enough to guarantee a Cornyn landslide. Then came Paxton's nuclear option. Bypassing the traditional channels, he took to X and directly texted the president, offering to bow out of the race. The ransom: Senate Republicans must bypass the legislative filibuster to pass the Save America Act, establishing uncompromising national voter ID and citizenship requirements. The internet exploded. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted a stunned "wow." Elon Musk dropped an American flag emoji in approval. Provocateur Laura Loomer championed Paxton as the best man for the job. Cornyn's camp tried to dismiss the move as a hollow bluff, noting Paxton only said he would consider dropping out. But privately, they admitted they'd been massively outflanked. Trump instantly recognized the leverage and weaponized it. Over the weekend, he issued a draconian ultimatum. He will refuse to sign any legislation until the Save America Act reaches his desk. He is now officially dangling the Cornyn endorsement over the heads of Senate Republicans, using it as a crowbar to pry open the Senate rules. Senate Majority Leader John Thune attempted to inject reality into the fever dream, flatly stating on Tuesday that the GOP simply does not have the math to bypass the filibuster. But Thune's mathematical reality only highlights the frustrating limits of the current Republican majority, a reality that infuriates the MAGA base. The sheer crushing weight of Trump's pressure campaign is already breaking the establishment. On Wednesday, a desperate John Cornyn penned a New York Post op-ed, completely abandoning his lifelong defense of the filibuster. He publicly declared his willingness to support whatever rule changes were necessary. Cornyn has been groveling for this endorsement for months. He actively embedded top Trump architects Tony Fabrizio and Chris LaCivita into his own campaign apparatus. In a spectacularly transparent attempt to prove his loyalty last year, Cornyn posted a staged photograph of himself deeply engrossed in Trump's "The Art of the Deal," captioned simply, "Recommended." Ultimately, Paxton gets the last laugh. Gloating over his tactical triumph on Wednesday, he noted the absolute humiliation of his rival. In just 7 days, Paxton bragged, he had forced John Cornyn to be more conservative than he had been in the last 24 years. The dust settling over this Texas standoff reveals a terrifyingly clear picture of the new power dynamics in Washington. The days of the traditional Senate Republican establishment dictating terms are officially dead and buried. By holding a single localized Senate endorsement hostage to extract massive nationwide constitutional concessions, Donald Trump has proven that he views the legislative branch not as an equal partner, but as a mechanism to be utterly bent to his will. The stakes of this standoff transcend John Cornyn and Ken Paxton. This is about the survival of the legislative filibuster and the fundamental rules of American democracy. We are looking at a hyper-volatile fork in the road. In one scenario, the Senate GOP establishment officially surrenders, obliterating decades of procedural precedent to nuke the filibuster and ram through the Save America Act. This would secure Trump's legislative legacy, but permanently shatter the Senate's institutional safeguards, ensuring all future legislation operates on pure, ruthless majority rule. In a second scenario, mathematical reality holds firm. Majority Leader John Thune and the moderate wing refuse to break the rules, enraging the MAGA base, sparking a brutal, unwinnable civil war within the party, and potentially allowing a Democrat like James Talarico to slip through the cracks and steal a Texas Senate seat. Ken Paxton's gambit was a masterpiece of political extortion, forcing a 6-term establishment titan to publicly abandon his core principles just for a chance at political survival. The Republican Party is no longer an ideological coalition. It is an absolute loyalty test. The lines are drawn, the ultimate legislative hostage has been taken, and the commander-in-chief is holding the detonator. How do you see this Senate showdown ending? Will the establishment permanently nuke the filibuster, or is the MAGA base demanding the mathematically impossible? Drop your boldest predictions in the comments below. If you want uncompromising, hard-hitting political analysis, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share this video.